To another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I am for this show, and it's not going to be gone out the door anytime soon. So I'm excited. It's going to be a good show. Yeah. Dave's super excited, I can tell.
Yeah. Anyways,
good episode.
I think we have a pretty good episode lined up for you here as we wind down the core set to go through and finish up these things. So before we do that, let me just very quickly let everybody in on this. We have the blog, cardtalk2018.com. Matt keeps up with what we do here. We have Second Breakfast. Micah does live playthroughs, or I guess they're just playthroughs and he uploads them at this point because he lives out in like rural Canada somewhere, so he doesn't really have reliable internet.
Yeah, we don't know how like space-time exactly works out there and where he is. Right. So sometimes it folds in on itself and other crazy stuff happens. So yeah, but you know, wild. It's available on the interwebs for you.
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel. And on our YouTube channel you can also see the video side of this. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can also go to the podcast side of this on a podcatcher. Lastly, I do want to say that we have a Patreon, patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And we are doing swag this year. We are in full production for some fun swag, which whether you're new or old, whether you're revised content only, or whether you're a veteran of the game, it's something that everybody can use and have fun with. So we're excited to bring that to you. In order to be eligible for the swag, we need you to be a $5 or more patron anytime starting in or before April.
Mm-hmm. Don't have to be Ready Teddy tier, but it is available still.
Right. And so just to remind people, what is the Ready Teddy tier, Ted?
Well, it comes with this very exclusive bonus where you can call me Ready Teddy via, email, messenger, or in person. We're at a convention together, and I won't even be mad about it. I'll just be like,
right.
Regular old Ted,
regular old
Ted, or yell or anything, and we can have fun time, play game. Maybe in the past we've had Ready Teddy exclusive Patreon games. That's happened before.
Yeah.
So, now I'm not. Right? I don't get mad during a single turn of that game.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And as opposed to people who are not Ready Teddy tier. It's not that they can't call you Ready Teddy.
Right.
It's just that you get angry about it.
I might be upset about it. So, just fair warning. Your actions are your own if you choose to do that.
That's right. You'll have to pay the piper, so to speak.
Some people learn the hard way.
Right. Well, if you do end up joining the Ready Teddy tier, you only have to do it for 1 month, and
it comes with lifetime
privileges, and those privileges are for Gondor, right?
That's right. That's exactly what this is.
Ted, let's talk about the card. Let's
talk about cards.
Oh yeah.
So today's card is for Gondor, and Dave, if you wouldn't mind, could you rattle it off for us, please?
Yeah. You know what, Ted, I always appreciate it when you give me a chance to read the cards, because I usually host. Well, I always host, but I never usually read the cards. It's so strange. I usually host.
Yeah, not really paying attention.
Yeah. What? Anyways, For Gondor is a 2-cost leadership event. It's from the core set, and it says action. Until the end of the phase, all characters get +1 attack all Gondor characters also get +1 defense until the end of the phase. So it's pretty interesting. Now, here's the thing. I don't
Yeah.
usually play this card. So, like, even when I was teaching my friend how to play this, like, I would
panned over it a little bit.
Yeah, like you kind of, you're like, oh, but then you realize that it's a global boost to attack, and it's all right.
Dude. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but how often are you attacking with all your characters? Like, at what point does 2 resources make this work? I don't know. I got questions. Ted, you are the For Gondor expert.
Thank you, I guess. Yeah, so it can get pretty nuts. Because you're right. It is you're typically playing this, or in the past, I've typically played this like for the attack boost. But now since the core sets come out, because when the core set came out, there was one Gondor traded hero, which was Denethor. Who would get the defense bonus, and then
who's a great target for the defense bonus, by the way.
Yeah,
like
he goes from 3 to 4,
right?
And then I typically had Steward of Gondor on Aragorn, who's a Sentinel, and then he would get the Gondor trait from Steward of Gondor, the attachment. So then he would get the boost too, and it kind of helped there, and that was kind of it.
It's the part of Steward of Gondor that people forget. Everybody, read Steward of Gondor. Go back and listen to the show. It grants that character the Gondor trait as well.
Yeah. So it can make a big difference, because there are some enemies in the game, some really, really big thematic enemies that might be limited on taking damage. But there are also some big enemies that are not. There's trolls in the game that have like even the troll in the base core has got like 8 or 9
hit points and 3 defense,
two
defense, 2 defense, 3 defense.
So yeah, you need like 11 or 12 attack strength to kill that sucker in one blow, or you're dealing with it over multiple rounds. And like this card, it scales with the number of characters you have, so it kind of fits the now cheap ally architect, where you play cheap allies and then you boost them through various, there's a lot of effects in leadership. And it adds up, especially when you consider other cards inside leadership, like Strength of Arms, which is to remind everybody, it's a leadership kind of only card that readies all allies in play. So is this a lot of resources to say yes? Like, it's 4, right, to ready all allies and then ready, but like if it can, again, it can bury a lot of enemy. You can do all your defenses and then ready and then counter strike back. And even if you only have 3 characters available to attack, this is, I guess, you're spending 2 resources to get +3. Is that stellar? No. Could you squeeze out 1 or 2 defense bonuses out of it also? Yes. And then there you're on the brink of it being pretty efficient, right? If you're saving 2 damage from maybe 2 attacks, and then you're attacking back to actually kill an enemy, so you didn't have to fight it next turn. There are some characters who will get the benefit both in one round. For example, Tactics Boromir, and even Leadership Boromir. But Tactics Boromir is Gondor traded, and his ability is to raise your threat by 1 to ready. So he could be attacking, he could be defending and attacking, or he's attacking twice and getting that benefit both times. Even Prince Imrahil, also from the first cycle, he's Gondor traded. He's leadership, 2 defense, 3 attack. So he boosts his stats. Potentially he's using both or the same bonus in 1 turn on top of everybody else.
So does this have to go into a Gondor deck? Like, your beloved Citadel Custodian comes out and like all of a sudden we're doing this? Like do you play this in a dwarf deck? Like, I think it's clear that this makes the most sense if you have more allies out, right? It doesn't have to go in a swarm, but if you think about your heroes, typically you have one or two heroes that are committing to the quest. You have a hero that's defending, and and then you have a couple allies that are attacking. So the more allies that you have going on here, and that's what makes it so good, is that you can group attack allies, but you can't group defend enemies, right? So that's what makes it that's the thing here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So it's
but it's yes, yeah. But it's also it's for the entire table, so it'll also scale up during multiplayer, right? The more characters you have, and as another sort of kind of more niche use to this card, it's an action to play. It's not a combat action. So if you're playing some of the quests that are battle or siege traded, also tremendously good, because when you're playing a battle or siege traded quests, which haven't been reprinted, but
unlikely to get reprinted.
Yeah, they're mostly in the third cycle, and some in the
Hobbit box
saga boxes. Just literally all characters get +1. Every person questing gets +1 of their attack. Or if they happen to be Gondor traded, you'd have to kind of plan for that. If you're doing a siege quest, you have to have multiple people questing that are Gondor traded, but it can be really helpful.
Yeah, I actually never thought about the siege or battle quests like that.
Yeah. It's better in battle than siege, but still has an application.
Right, battle where you use your attack to quest and not
in
your
place
willpower.
of your willpower for questing. Then you need as much attack as you can get, and it doesn't have to go into Gondor, but any type of deck that swarms, meaning you play lots of allies. So is a 3 hunter deck where you only have three heroes in play, 3 characters in play good for this card? No, big waste of space. But dwarves,
and it's not even a restricted attachment in a 3 hunters deck.
Well, you still want events, right, to boost your stats. I'm sure it could be used, but to a lesser effect. But dwarves. A lot of dwarf decks are playing.
Super excited about defending for Gondor.
Well, they get the attack boost, right? So a lot of times you're playing Leadership Dane, and gives all your dwarves get +1 anyway. But why not give them +2?
Right.
It's twice as good. So it makes them more efficient. So it's got its place, and those decks typically, in Leadership, if you have the card draw to match your resources, which you have resource acceleration, typically you get more allies in play. So I think it matches the sphere. Plus, thematically, you get to have the super fun moment where you're like, for Gondor, and the whole table, players you got,
only to be outdone by 4th Aerlingus, right?
Everyone gets to have their moment. So typically, yes. So I'm playing this for the attack bonus. You want to play it where you're playing smaller, cheaper allies. But that kind of goes into Leadership in general. They have cards, a very good tale is they have ways to muster allies into play, call for aid. So they're kind of that archetype already, even outside of Gondor.
Right.
So they're a dwarf, even your Slipper Sylvans, right? I mean, you're building up a board of Sylvans.
If you have 8 or 9 Sylvans out, that's huge.
Yeah, it can make a big difference for killing a really big enemy, and especially ones that have high defense, because you need to.
And so, Nasia in the Dream Chaser cycle. I just happen to be playing the Dream Chaser campaign right now. So Nasia, for every resource she gets +1 defense, and so I just had her with 9 resources on her, so she was defending for 11. And so fortunately the Sylvans, I could defend it, which was all right, but then I had to tink away and do attack for 8 with 8 people and do 1 damage. You know, like, and
Right.
so eventually I got through it, but this would have made it so much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
Global boost. It's not restricted to just per attack. I think of like Spirit Dine, who can, you know, get a boost, but it's only for his defense, you know, like, and so it's not, you know, for just the attack that this is going on. It's for the whole phase. So if you can do some trickery where you're readying people, they can attack again. You know, like, so if you can make, you know, if you have your Mondo crazy Voltron Aragorn, you know, then he can attack again, ready, attack again. Like, it's just that bonus is there for the whole round. So
Yeah,
so it's good.
It's got sort of surprising application, and you know, it's going to a lot of my decks recently. No, if I'm playing, again, it depends. I haven't been playing a lot of ally swarm decks, but you know, if I'm making a Gondor themed deck, they usually make it in there just because I have so many allies on the table. Because you want to boost them with other effects anyway, and this just adds to that.
I just think in solo, this card, like, if you're gonna have a choice between playing this card, and again, I'm playing Sylvans right now, so like, versus the Greenwood Archer. You know, like, the Greenwood Archer now already has 2 attack, you know, +1 with Galadriel. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like when you're playing solo, this isn't as much of a card to consider as opposed to multiplayer when you're giving everybody the bonus and then you can make the decision from there. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to give everybody a bonus. So let's figure out our attacks and let's figure this out. You know, like, you know, when you're playing solo, you know, you're not going to rely on event bonuses to get you through a specific part of the game. You're going to rely on event bonuses as a backup, but not, you know, not like, okay, here comes the hill troll. Now I just need to get my For Gondor out. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's, yeah. It like I said, it does have the more players you have, the better it gets. So bring it to a convention. We're playing in 3 to 4 player games. You get much more value out of it than even just 2-player. I'd say, yeah, solo, it's at its weakest for sure, just because it affects the least number of characters, which is the way with a lot of, I'd say, leadership cards in general. There's a lot of just leadership global cards, right? Cards that ready all allies, ready all characters, and this is another one of those types of effects. But it can make a difference, because if you're just, you know, if you're short, if you have a couple players that are short 2 attack, and that makes the difference between killing an extra 2 or 3 enemies, that's significant that you're not carrying them over the next round.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, it could shock you.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I'll just stop there. Should we talk about the art for this thing?
Yeah.
Event art is always like interesting to talk about, because you're like, does it depict the event that we're talking about? Like Sneak Attack with the Hobbit that's jumping down onto the goblin or the orc, you know, in the woods or whatever. Like, and so, like, does this make us think about I mean, it's got the White Tree of Gondor. I don't know if I've ever seen the White Tree of Gondor with such an elaborate root system on it, but maybe it's not. But I don't know. I mean, it's like a banner. It's like a battle banner. Some standard bearers carrying it in, you know, like,
right.
I think I like the art. Like, the art in a vacuum is good. I don't know. I feel like I want some more battle-y things for this. You know, this is where they're like, For Gondor! You know, I don't know. It's just doesn't align as well. But
sure, it's just a picture of the standard instead of an actually, like, courageous moment or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I like the picture of the standard. I think it's fine. It's kind of like some other core set stuff where it's like, man, this is okay.
Yeah. I think the art's good. I don't know. But the root system on the White Tree of Gondor, just a little weird. There's also, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know.
Whatever.
Go look at the card. Let us know what you think in the comments. Should we ring this guy?
Yeah, let's take it to our ring system.
Okay. So in case you are new or may have forgotten, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we ring a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, or the best card in the game, and 10 is closer to what this card is. So, Ted, you went first last episode, so I will go this episode.
That makes sense.
Yes. I see the benefit of this card, especially multiplayer. We talked about how the Steward of Gondor gives whoever the Steward of Gondor is on the Gondor trait, and that's sneaky in there. But like as a solo player, I just am not building my For Gondor deck. I'm not putting it in there as a be all and end all, or even like an emergency button. There's just too many cards in the broad card pool that replace this for me. I would rather, put in a feint or a Hobbit sense or something that just cancels the attack instead of instead of just trying to boost up my characters to try to kill something. I don't know. It's just it's just not that good. So I'm gonna give it an 8 because it's just outgrown the uses for solo play for me. Ted?
That's a fair assessment. And even with all the great things I mentioned you can do with it, it is, it can fit. It's any deck that is attacking can use this card, right? Unless your deck is purely like, I'm going to quest and you're playing with somebody else who handles all of the combat. And even then you could play it to give them bonuses. But, I'm still going to give it like a 6.
Is it like a 6? Or is that like 6 plus or minus? Or
yeah. I'm going to give something like a 6. 5 is like 6. But I always give it a 6. It's really, and it's thematically a little fun to play. I've had those moments. Maybe that's weighing on my judgment.
A little sentimentality there.
It's not something I play 3 of. I typically will play 2 of this. I think is a good number, and sometimes just 1 can be fine. Or if you happen to get it, it helps you out, but it's not something you want to rely on, like you said anyway. So, Well, yeah, that's what I'll go with.
Okay. Well, everybody, there you have it. 13 reasons why Ted is wrong. So, everybody, Ted, I'm just joking, buddy. Okay, everybody, have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.